Yo, what's up guys? Mike Patrick. In this video, I want to talk about the importance of trying to keep a family structure even when you and your ex-significant other is no longer together, but you have children together. Okay guys, now I wanted to do this video because I think this is a very important video, a great video for the archives. And this is a really personal video for me because I like to do a lot of my videos in order for my children, even if for no one else, even though I hope my videos can help however many people they can. But if for no one else, my children can, when they grow up, they can always go back and refer to my videos, okay? And so this one is gonna be very important. Say like when my kids become teenagers or young adults, okay? Now, guys, I want us to think about trying to stay as disciplined as possible if we can with maintaining some form of a family structure and a family unit, even when you and your ex is not any longer together. Now, why do I say that? Because, guys, even if something didn't work out for you and your ex, even if something didn't work out for you guys, that doesn't mean that your children shouldn't have the chance and the opportunity to get it right. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, we all are the biggest examples to our children. If you're an active parent in your children's life, then you're going to be the example that they see, okay? And so with that said, if they constantly see families being torn apart and broken apart in single parent households, they're going to normalize that. You see what I mean? They're going to think that's normal. That's what's happened to our generation, like the millennial generation. I believe the baby boomers are probably the first generation that started it off. It's not as bad for them as it is for our generation, and probably the generation that's Generation Z. You know what I mean? Now that they're coming of age. But the thing is, guys, when it started with the baby boomers, that was the first generation where we started to have single parent households more, okay? And then, like I said, the millennials, we got single parent households like it's nobody's business, right? And if that's all our children see, guys, subconsciously, you know what I mean? Even if we're not telling them, you know, grow up and just try to be single. You know what I mean? You don't need a man. You know what I mean? You don't need a woman. You know what I mean? Just be single. Don't even aspire to have a family. Even if we're not saying that to them, that's still the idea they get if we're not conscious of spreading the message and instilling the message in them that, look, for whatever reason it didn't work out with me and your father or me and your mother, you know what I mean? You are young and you still have a chance at doing things right, okay? Now, it's a whole lot to go into this, you know what I mean? So when we have the single parent households, you know, as we know with the millennial generation especially, we got a lot of single mothers, you know what I mean? And so what happens? When those little girls and those little boys grow up in a house without a dad, you know what I mean? They think that's normal. So when they grow up, they're more likely to perpetuate that same cycle, and it becomes a cycle. You know what I mean? So I always like to stress to my children many things, but this video is going to be stressing to them, and they can always come back and refer to it, and they can always have their father's point of view on how things worked out, because there's always multiple sides to a story. You know what I mean? And you know, a lot of times, you know, especially when kids are younger, they may take one person's side, you know, more than another and things like that. And and this is not a personal video. My children's mother, you know, we have a pretty good relationship, you know, and I think we do a good job of trying to not necessarily make one parent look you know, a certain type of way to the other parent, you know what I mean? Or we both getting better with that. You know what I mean? As more time go by where we are separated, right? But I just like, especially for my daughters, but even for my son, you know, my sons, like I don't want them growing up thinking that that's normal. It's becoming normal, and then, you know, it becomes biblical and things like that. I'm a firm believer that we're in, you know what I mean, the ending stages of a old way of doing things, and sometimes it's rough, and there's a lot of tearing down that happens, and that's not just, you know, like infrastructure or systems altogether, you know what I mean, the system altogether, but more so even families. There's a lot of families that are getting torn apart at this particular point in time, you know. And like I said, I just want them in a world that is normalizing single parent households. I want them, while they have the opportunity, while they have a clean slate, to know that, look, no, I'm stressing to you. You have an opportunity to do it the right way. You have an opportunity to have a family. I try to explain to them that people are not going to give you the whole story a lot of times, and they'll try to normalize things, make things seem appealing and cool because it's their situation, but they're not going to tell you that they're just trying to make the best of their situation because at some point they don't have a choice anymore. But it's not cool for us. For example, if you're a felon, you've been a felon or something like that, and let's say you have a lot of felonies, you know, just for the sake of making a point, you know, you may have to still get out here, and let's just say you go back to having to do crimes because it's hard for you to get a job within the system, okay, because of your past, okay? That doesn't mean, right, that you're going to endorse to your children that they should be a drug dealer or a bank robber or something like that, and try to sell that to them and make it look appealing to them and make it seem okay without telling them, hey, look, this, you know, I made some bad decisions early on in my life that put me in a situation that made things harder for me to do anything else, but I don't want to glamorize this lifestyle, or I don't want to not tell you that this is the wrong thing to do, and that you have your own chance to do whatever you want to do based on the fact that you don't have to make the same decisions and the same mistakes that I made in the past. But a lot of times what we don't do is, I'm sure there's not a lot of single parents, whether it's mothers or fathers, okay, that explain that type of stuff to their children. Like a lot of times we'll try to make it seem like, you know, I'm happy to be single, I don't need a man, I don't need a woman, things like that. And, you know, you try to hype it up and make it seem like you're happy and this is your choice. But yeah, it's your choice, but it's your choice based off of your past decisions. Because let's face it, for a lot of women, right, if you had the opportunity at a young age to say not make a lot of the same choices that you made early on in your life, most of y'all would probably say, I would want to grow up, be a virgin until I'm sure I met the right person and I married that person. You know what I mean? And try to stay with that person. You see what I'm saying? Most are not going to say that, okay? Most are going to, you know, still try to make it seem like, you know, well, I just choose to be single now. You know what I mean? And and either way, that's just the decisions that I chose to make, or that's just the way that I want things to be. You know what I mean? Like, but if a lot of people are being honest, they would say, especially from a female point of view, they would say like, nah, look, I made some choices early on in my life, you know what I mean, that put me in a position to where my mind frame, my beliefs, my experiences and things like that put me in a position where it made it hard for me to submit to a man or a significant other, because I had a certain amount of experiences that you know, that made me this way. You know what I mean? But if you can stay on a straight path And you can have that dream and that desire, and as long as you qualify yourself, so to speak, you know what I mean? Because let's face it, from a male point of view, a lot of males, you know what I mean, they do look at women's past. You know what I'm saying? Whether you agree with it or not, a lot of men look at women's past. And so therefore, like a woman, she can have plenty of opportunities to start off with a man. But a lot of men, now on the flip side, a lot of times women have bad experiences because you can draw a man in, but a lot of men, if they find out you have a certain past, you know what I mean, they might act like they want a serious relationship with you, or they may want to take you as a wife. They might come across like that and make you think that you have that potential with them until they get a certain thing, right? And then now that's just another man under your belt, which makes it harder to attract another man that's going to take you seriously. But see, you have to explain that type of stuff to your daughters, whether you like it or not. You just got to keep it 100, you know what I mean, and explain that to your daughters and say, you know, but look, you're young, you have an opportunity to take your time, do things a certain way, and especially nowadays, you know what I mean, if you are yearning, and if it's your dream to be a wife, you know what I mean, you have an opportunity because men might find you more valuable. You know what I mean? And this is not to bash women, it's not to make things sound. I know it's going to be some people that's just going to, you know, find a way. In my videos, I always try to make points and tell the truth, you know what I mean, without being, you know, disrespectful and things like that. But I'm sure somebody, you know, is going to find a way to even criticize this. But at the end of the day, this is the type of things that I would tell my daughters. So I'm putting it on film, so I would never have to say that again. I could always just go, hey, go watch that video until it stick. You know what I mean? And this is another thing. People don't always have to agree with your opinion. I tell my kids all the time, you don't have to agree with everything that I tell you. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to dictate your mind. You know what I mean? Daddy's trying to tell you what he, you know, Daddy feel like he has your best interest in hand more than basically almost anyone. You know what I mean? With the, you know, I guess, you know, you can argue their mother and things like that. So I'm not trying to tell you anything wrong. I'm telling you from experience, and I'm telling you from being the opposite sex and being a male, and telling you how guys think. You know what I mean? And so if you want an opportunity to be a wife and to stay a wife, you know what I mean? Because also the more experiences you have and with different people, the more it makes it harder and harder for you to be likely to stay with one person. And like I said, especially from a woman's standpoint, you can meet a lot of guys and even be with them for a certain amount of time. You see what I'm saying? Because we know that guys want that one thing. You know what I mean? A lot of guys, not all. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that all just want that one thing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that women that might have, you know, had a lot of past experiences can't necessarily find that one guy one day, you know what I'm saying, and then ride off into the sunset. You know what I'm saying? You know, but it just, like, the less experiences you have, the more it's easier for you to, once you find that one man, to be submissive, to be a traditional wife, okay? So while I'm not criticizing modern day women that may be somewhat in the position, or may be an example of what I'm talking about right now, you know what I mean? You know, at the end of the day, I got to explain this to my daughters, and you don't have to agree with everything that I say, but once you get a certain age, you can hear my point of view, and then you can make your own choice at the end of the day. But if nobody's giving you different, you know, certain points of views, then you'll never know. And then, you know, you'll be a certain age one day, and then you'll probably realize, well, I didn't have nobody in my life to tell me these things, to look out, so I could look out for these things early and possibly avoid them. So therefore, later on in my life, I wouldn't be in a position where now I just got to make do, and I got to make myself, because at whatever point you at, when you get there, you might as well be a glass half full type of person and make the best of the situation. So I'm not telling you that once you get in a certain, for females who may be in a certain situation later on in life, that you're supposed to have a low self-esteem and beat yourself up. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you know, like I said, you know, if you know you have somebody younger coming behind you, why not influence them? You know what I mean? And put them on a straight and narrow and see how it goes, you know? But you have to explain these things to them and give them a chance. And so, let me see, anything else I want to say? I think this is a real good video for my daughters. Whatever they don't understand, and my sons, whatever they don't understand right now, it'll make more sense when they get older. And I think they can appreciate this. And anybody else's child for that matter. Because everybody's child doesn't necessarily have somebody in their life that's going to talk to them like this. You know what I mean? And we got so many things going on. Me personally, I'm not against, I'm not like, I don't hate homosexuals, or I'm not a homosexual basher or anything like that. It's not something I would promote to my children. But that's what I'm saying. You have to give the point of views, because different point of views, and explain certain things, because we're in a world where homosexuality is rampant now. So you got to think, man, kids are so impressionable. So if they see something that's normal and they're not giving any contrary, what appears to be normal to them, and they're not giving any contrary, they can do things, they can make choices early on in their life, not realizing what they're doing, especially when something looks normal at the time. You see what I'm saying? And people will not tell you everything, or not try to give you the game. And some people are literally have bad intentions, to where people, it's like crabs in a barrel, and people want to see you, sometimes even if it's just subconsciously, sometimes people want to see you in the same position that they in. You know what I mean? And they know you have an opportunity to do something different or be something different. But some people, because it's no turning back for them, they may try to sell, you know what I mean, and promote their way of life, you know what I mean, without giving the other person, somebody that they have a lot of influence over, another opportunity or a different road to possibly travel, if that's what they choose to do. Now, once everything's on the table, and then a person grows up and they want to make their own decisions, that's them, because at the end of the day, you gave them a fair shot. You say, okay, yeah, you see this all the time, or you got that point of view, but now let me give you this point of view so you can consider this, and then you can make the choice yourself. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to necessarily agree with the other person. You don't have to full-fledged agree with either one of us, you know what I mean, to the whole extent. But you may agree with some of one person and some of the other. And then you might formulate your own ideas and your own opinion that might be somewhat different from both opinions. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, man, I think this is a good video for the children. So, guys, Daddy did this one for you. You know what I mean? So you guys can consider this. You know what I mean? And I think that's all that needs to be said. If I have to do a part 2, because I'm sure there's always something that you can add on to tie things in better. But I think I made a good point with this video. You know, fellas, be the best father that you can in your children's life. Mothers, be the best mothers that you can be in your children's lives. You know what I'm saying? And you know, let's try to give them opportunity to you know, walk their own path. You know what I mean? And things like that. And we can avoid a lot of trauma in kids and a lot of things that damage people, men and women. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times the choices early on in our life, you know what I mean? The way that we live early on in our life, when we are less experienced, not as wise, you know what I mean? And just, we don't necessarily understand the repercussions of the choices that we might make early in our life. You know what I mean? And like I said, instead of, you know, it's like I said, it's good to be a glass half full, and you gotta start from wherever you at that point and make the best. And everybody deserves to be happy, so it's not about beating yourself up, like I said, and you know, and things like that. But it's not about trying to overinflate yourself too. and trying to overcompensate for the, you know what I mean? When you know you might have, if you could go back and do it all over again, you probably would. You know what I mean? So, all right, guys, hopefully this was a good video. Peace.